Hey guys, welcome back. Like I said, that break was like, I don't know, a couple seconds for you maybe. But we're back, and I believe the next topic of discussion was going to be the Green Hour, which is which was run by Zad.
Hello.
I'm an English major.
Listen, it's like English majors about themes and shit, not grammar. I mean, you can take grammar classes. I had a professor who wrote one where the final was write 100-word sentence, but okay. Anyway.
Go fuck yourself.
Listen, yeah. So a Green Hour. Green Hour is it's a little like 2-page game from a collection of micro RPGs, and I like genuinely highly recommend micro RPGs. They're great, but this one is about two people who are the basically are about to be sacrificed by the last two remaining gods of a land to form a new god and hopefully save everybody. So just to kind of blow through the plot real quick, the area where we set it is an area that has been under the control of the Undying Empire for quite some time. My character, Hydrangea, was part of the Temple of Timothy. Timothy is the god of Timothy Hay, and that's just the sole agricultural export from I think in like an intro I started calling it Hayfield, and so that's where the Temple of Timothy is, out in the middle of Hayfield.
Bunch of hay girls.
Yes, and the rabbits too, so little hay bunnies.
I did remember
Rabbit people.
Because like I mentioned, I haven't listened to all these in full. I did get far enough to know you introduced rabbit people, you scoundrel. You scamp even?
Hello. Hi. We almost had cats. The Verdreen were almost cats. And we just walked away from that one, which is kind of too bad.
Never too late.
Anyway.
Now we have rabbits. So.
Now we've got rabbit folks, which implies all other manner of kinds of people. Anyways, they grow Timothy hay, and if they don't meet their production quotas, the Empire cuts off their food supplies. Meanwhile, Glyza, my partner for this game, played Fury. Fury is the scion of the god Agi. Agi is a god of wildfires, and our peoples met because if you don't, on occasion, just like burn your hayfield and clear out all the thatch, it strangles and makes things worse than if you're doing nothing but using the land to grow Timothy hay every year for decades on end. So because the land's depleted and we can't change crops or adapt to the changing environment, otherwise we screw up imperial prerogatives, and the fire starters, the devout of Agi, are being hunted down for bullshit reasons. Forest Service kind of related. Our characters were sent to a little cabin that had been built, and were meant to combine our essences and become a new god that everybody could worship and that could save the land. And yeah, we have this little romance story between a big, beefy, kind of awkward person and a fastidious and curious, I think kind of like underlying sort of angry rabbit person. We have some dinner, manifest our divine mantles in the form of wildflowers and fruit trees, and then I guess kind of like that third act turn happens, which is, I guess,
at this part of the story, you're officially at the part where I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. So part of the reason that I wanted to do a Green Hour, and I wanted to do a Green Hour forever, is as you heard, if you listen to the episode, I am terrified of the underlying metaphor of like the part of the core of the game is you have to essentially self-annihilate and lose yourself in order to create this new god, which smacks of some of the more toxic elements of parenthood or parent culture, the way that people approach it. And I just like needed to engage with that on my own terms and to frankly be able to walk away from it, which is what I did. Or I guess what Glyza and I decided to do. So Fury and Hydrangea, instead of dying and coming back as gods or as abandoning the project wholesale, which are the options that are written within the text of the game, decided that we were going to like have an actual baby instead. So the using the divine energy that was concentrated within the bower, we made Andis. Andis came into the world in the same way that humans do, but then grew into a divine presence, became the guide for the curious, somebody who traveled broadly and learned things and sought out new experiences, but also like held on to this deep personal sense of self, because that's what the parents, that's what Hydrangea and Fury wanted. And that's the god that we have in the end. The area around Hayfield, I think, Ben, in the chat, you've called it the Bowerlands, which I think is really interesting.
I think, and you and I have gone back and forth on this. There's what the place is called. Mm-hmm. There's what the place calls itself. Yeah. And then there's what the Empire calls it. Yeah. And so I've been having the project I'm working on is going to go to that place, the mm-hmm. setting that you created. So I've been thinking the Empire is going to call it the Bowerlands, because I believe you and Glyza sort of imply at the end that other bowers start cropping up. Yeah. And so new young gods start appearing now that this, like, I guess, new god-making technology has been discovered. All you need to do is make a cozy cottage, fall in love, boom, god baby.
Yeah. I see, and that's also the way that I almost want to put it is like the Empire cannot and should not recognize that it is the Bowerlands, because those bowers are the source of divine power that I eventually in the future would like to be a sort of and like the collaboration between the various counties in the area who are all producing a different single crop. Like I am seeding that area, the Bowerlands, to be one of our kind of footholds for the rebellion that's coming. So I think like,
and you and I can talk about that, because I think we're going in roughly the same direction. I think probably the Empire doesn't realize the importance or the power of the bowers. They just know that there's bowers there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
power of the bowers.
We'll talk about it as we go. But
if the Undying Empire finds out what's going on there, they will destroy it or take over it for their own purposes, probably. So they don't need to know about that. That needs to be kept secret.
I'd love if they tried to burn it.
That would be a very stupid thing for them to do.
It's one of the 3 extant gods that live there. Could potentially be. Yeah. So that is the end. There's a bunch of new gods cropping up in this random agricultural breadbasket.
Yes. Two major thoughts from me. First of all, because you had some very poignant things to say about Fiasco, I almost feel obligated. Like, whereas Fiasco is very likened to like a soap opera, like lots of big swings, lots of people comedically going around each other and avoiding direct conversation, but also not. Green Hour felt very much like a really good one-act play that people walk out of feeling a little differently, and very personal, which is just funny in an arc all about gods, right?
We wanted to get a bunch of different stories, and we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was such an intimate portrait of a moment. I had to tap out a few times. See, I'm not a thinking, feeling human. I like the level of intimacy of the Green Hour. Oh, I was like, oh wow, I feel like I shouldn't be listening to this. This is too personal. Like it was. I'm not saying. Look, when I say this, this is a criticism of me. I have issues with it.
So, not gonna lie, I probably would have been the same, but I added a different flavor love story between Zadkiel's characters for Tempest Multi. So this was not the first time I've sat there feeling like the awkward third wheel in a very romantic moment.
Well, and you got that relationship at three different points even.
Yes.
But yeah. So
yes.
I'm still a piece that's going to need to be cut out as I fucking called it.
I mean, as is to almost be expected with you, Zad, I really do like. I mean, like the idea of like we made a joke about like this sick new tech of making gods, but like I don't know, it's can be kind of the idea of like large systems of oppression, like the Undying Empire, like other political entities where I may or may not currently live have a way of seeding their own, destruction and creating dissent through how they oppress people and their cultures.
You control the arts, you control I mean, like to get back to like that's kind of why I think Narithma being something that's allowed to expand throughout the empire, but only half of it, not necessarily the destruction part, but like the part that isn't rocking the boat, the part that's like, no, be happy with these bad things that are happening to you because they're beautiful. But like, I've been listening to a lot of Irish music, and that's the vibe that I want to put into like By the Rising of the Moon is a big one that I think about a lot for specifically the Bowerlands coming together and rising up, which ultimately was a failed rebellion. But that sense of the culture, they did a pretty good job of stamping out the culture that existed in that place, but they didn't get all of it. They could never get all of it. That beating heart still exists. And the magic of the land, the thing that was still there is being reclaimed by the people who live there.
So I've been staying quiet for two reasons. One, you pretty much covered all the things I want to ask. And two, I've been trying to not cry because one, I don't know if you said it out loud during the recording or you just like quietly agreed to this. But also this might get way too personal for me. So this entire thing might get cut for me not embarrassing myself online. But also this next part is definitely because you named them Andis, and I don't even mention in the recording.
It is a little bit.
It is.
That got me because it's your kids. Oh
yeah.
Oh fuck.
That's how we put the name together.
Yeah.
You love your kids. and normally I make a joke about it, but you love your kids, and that's I feel something whenever I see you just being a good parent, because knowing that I get to be friends with someone who's this good a parent just gives me so much hope.
Yeah.
For you and your kid. And man, family's hard.
It is.
Doesn't matter what anyone says, there's no one objective way to do it, and there's no perfect way to do it. But I think you're doing great, and I'm gonna cry.
No, and like that's almost like that's why that's why I wanted to completely throw out the rules of the game that we were playing and like kind of work through it. That's why A Green Hour is the game that I wanted to do this from before when I pitched, or when we pitched the God Potluck. I knew that this was the one because it's such a specific story that I wanted to tell. And you've got to be really like, it is both like parenthood is about like having those rules and having that structure, but also having flexibility. Everything that you try is going to get pushback. Everything that you fail in so many small ways, but yet like as long as you're I don't know. Like I'm losing the thread on it, and I'm not going to do that rant again because it's deeply uncomfortable for the people on the call. But yeah, like that's the reason. To get to the question of like why Green Hour. One, it's really cool and well written and exceedingly flavorful, and a lot of the text is incredible. Two, it's very, very short, and I wanted to do something that was very short. And I think more people should play more short games. And three is because I had this one story that I wanted to tell.
Yeah, and it's a good story to tell. Damn. I was told by recently my cousin, shout out Kelsey, what's up, has become obsessed with our podcast Game Oven. So
you got to do it fast.
She caught up with it.
We appreciate you and love you.
So
we
fast.
appreciate you even more than Ted. I'm just gonna say
way more than Ted. Sorry, Ted.
Get on Kelsey's level, Ted.
Yeah, true.
But I remember two things about Green Hour that caught me off guard. Was she mentioned that there's a content warning, trigger warning in it? I'm like, I can't imagine what that's for. I can't possibly imagine why.
Yeah.
And then also she sent me a voice message while she was driving going, hey, I need to talk to Zad.
Well,
we would hit it off. Lex, look at me. Let me talk to Zad.
yeah, let's roll. Like it's a limited time because child, but like, I don't know, like, and okay, so here's me like looking down the barrel of the camera out into the audience here, similar to how Dylan did in the last one. Hey, go out and make your fucking art.
Yep.
Just like it's tough, it's terrifying, it's hard. Make the silly things. I think is the thing that we said last time. Make the hard things. It's like it when you have something to say, you don't have to say it perfectly, but at a certain point it's going to come down to it and you do have to say it and like and do that and workshop it, edit it, run it past people that you trust before you like throw it out into the world. Maybe make sure that the audience is ready for it when they've got it, which is why the content warning's there. But like, make your fucking art, go out there and do it. I don't care if it's dumb. I don't care if it's like heartbreaking. I don't care if like make people cry. You feel better after you cry. That's the reason that you cry. It is your body rebalancing your hormones internally. So just, I don't know, go out and make shit.
I care.
Even if nobody listens to it or sees it or cares.
I mean, objectively, this month, people have heard it and listened to it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Because fun fact, gang, as of this recording, we've had our best month for Game Oven ever.
Listens wise, yeah. Better than our opening salvo.
Yeah, we're reaching a year in this project, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't beat our first month yet.
Oh, we
This
haven't
is
beaten
the
our
best
first month yet. Oh, okay.
since the first month.
Look. Hey, Ben's wrong, and that's okay.
Go figure. You know what rebalances my hormones though? Killing gods.
Killing gods.
Yes.
Sorry that we got stuck on that.
No,
It's just like I said for me.
Zed
It's
made something so beautiful.
Did we
It's
hit
an
this?
something
important
amazing. Hey, Bree, what happened in God Killer?
So quite a bit happened in God Killer. Now, the second
Oof.
someone pitched the God Potluck game, I was like, I know what game I want to do because I had been wanting to play God Killer since I saw Connie talking about it because it was written by Connie Chang, who is just amazing in so many ways. So, fun story of how I found a player for God Killers. I just went into another server and said, "Who wants to kill a god?" And that is how I made a new friend. But my original pitch for this was like I always kind of wanted to do sort of either with two different players or some sort of two-part game. And the original pitch with Chase was this was potentially going to be the birth of the Undying Empire, which is not what happened. Not exactly. But so part one was I ran the game for Chase because it's a 2-player holy punk RPG. It's powered by the Apocalypse system. And
Holy punk is a word that I love now. Carry on.
It is a great word. Where so in the first part, the first 2 episodes, Chase played as the God Killer, and it was just set on this island. that we never named, and I'm not going to name it now. It was an island that basically more or less had one god, Deontor, a creator or the island makers, but I called him in my notes. And Chase's character, Wylo, was a very devout follower of Deontor, and part of this religion included there would be someone who was chosen as Scion, given a fraction of Deontor's power to help create and craft the future of the island. Everyone thought it was going to be Wylo, until it wasn't. Deontor chose someone else. And 3 weeks later, we find Wylo covered in that person's blood, after they've killed the Scion before they could fully ascend. Because they gave everything to their god, only to be told that they were not enough. So, they kill the Scion, hide him in a barrel, and find the instructions for what they were supposed to do as part of their ascension, which includes going to the first temple of Deontor, which is somewhere else on the island. They go and find it. Along the way, they meet a priestess who focuses more on the natural side of things. There were definitely moments in the game where we messed up the rules, because there are mortal moves that do not actually require rolls. My apologies. I misread that a little bit. It's the divine moves that require rolls, not mortal. So, a little bit of confusion there.
I mean,
But it's still really
I know
cool.
at the start of this project we said, yeah, we'll like do it rules as written most of the time, and then we just kind of didn't. So that's okay.
No, I
We
messed-
try.
No, that was me messing up the rules.
We try.
I think
Yeah.
Rob's Game of Fiasco is the only thing that didn't have any kind of variance in the rules as far as I'm aware, even though Rob also made a homebrew like deck of cards for it. So never mind. I fucking lied. I don't think we followed the rules ever. So, you're fine.
Yeah, so how the mortal moves are supposed to work is the player answers the question, and then the GM answers the question. So Wylo, after getting cleaned up, goes on this journey to find the first temple. And in the first temple, they find a shard of the first stone, the first thing Deontor ever created, and potentially the only thing that could kill them. They also see signs of created things that should still be perfect that are beginning to crumble and continue to crumble under the grasp because they still have that blood on their hands. But it's also proof that their god is maybe not as perfect and powerful as everyone thinks he is. After they find the first stone, they make plans to potentially burn things down to call out their god. And so I introduced another NPC, Letheris, who is a thief. And her gospel, because everyone has a gospel, is basically you make your fate. It's a very fun meet cute, where there's a lot of, okay, no, but what are you doing here? No, what are you doing here? And they both don't have a shaken faith when it comes to Deontor specifically. And she's never really understood why Wylo was so devout and never considered anything else. And so after they talk, Wylo goes to show her the crumbling, and she sees that Deontor is not as strong as everyone thinks he is. And this awakens Wylo's divinity. And they begin to glow this brassy color, and it's exhilarating. It freaks Letheris out a little bit, but more in the this is unexpected ways. And there's a very awkward hug. And some of the glow kind of sticks to her after the hug. She was not expecting the hug, and she was not expecting any of this when she went to go check her stash of stuff to sell at the party that's supposed to be happening tonight. And when Wylo says, I'm going to kill God, she's just like, mind if I tag along? So that's how Wylo gets their first follower.
Best JRPG party ever.
Yeah. Just a very climactic meet cute in the middle of the woods on the way to go kill God. As you do.
Of course, yeah.
And so they make their way to the current temple. Letheris basically uses my version of Thieves' Cant of hand signals to get people on Wylo's side. That's how we get the first 13 followers. I rolled the dice for that, but I liked the number it gave me. And Wylo calls out their god. And there's a fight. And one interesting rule of God Killer is there's overkill. So when you overkill inflicting violence, you lose something. So Wilo almost accidentally killed Letheris in that fight. On a backswing, took out a large part of her stomach, and she almost died as they went to basically beat their god to death with a rock, took the divinity, healed Letheris, but it didn't go quite as planned because she now has a like brassy metal stomach because it was the healing replaced it with metal because that also like overkilled, so it had a weird impact on the surrounding area. And also, as the fight was happening, the stone was slowly turning into metal flooring with very geometric patterns, as Wilo does become the god of industry and commerce on this island. And there was another interaction with the guard who was supposed to protect the Scion named Kafasa, who potentially becomes important later. But in part 2, Chase ran the game and I played as Letheris. It's a couple years later.
Fuck. Shit. I already see where you're going. Fuck. So good. Damn it.
Yeah. They've been a couple for a while now. Which I have to say, figuring out a relationship while one of you is also figuring out how to be a god is interesting. But
and not like a super stable god. No shade, but also like Wilo's a bit scary.
Wilo's a mess.
So Wilo lost a lot of their memories of why they wanted to like create this commerce and like make things better on the island. They lost a lot of their warmth, but Letheris is kind of that for them. Letheris is their family. Also, Zad is frozen, and the face that they're frozen in is
incredibly cute. Zad is so fucking photogenic that even a random Discord frozen face looks just really good.
It's vaguely distracting, so I'm trying to ignore it. But so with Letheris' story, she was the nobody. Her divinity came from nowhere, but also something you find out early on as she goes to this holy city of Effervesce, because of course Chase actually names things. Oh, and another important detail I forgot to tell about Wilo's story is the Scion used to be Wilo's lover, because some drama there. We just don't talk about Wilo's ex, it's fine.
Yeah, never talk about the ex.
With Letheris' story, she gets to the city because they've been having some issues with like expanding industry beyond the sea. And she's felt this connection, and she finds out from her uncle that she was meant to be sacrificed to the god of the city, because this god demands the sacrifice of a child once a year. She was meant to be that sacrifice, but her family stole her away, and that's how she ended up on the island. She didn't know until her uncle told her. Coming back. So the day she's in the city is the day of the festival, which means there's supposed to be another sacrifice tonight. And she's not about to let that happen. So she gets help from a smuggler friend who she agrees to help like get in on some of the trade going on with the island. And then she goes to the festival and finds some other people who are not about this. And convinces them to help too, sharing about how she saw the fall of the last god and what do I need to look for, because you have to find a thing that's tied to the god to be able to kill them. So that's how she found out that Elisie, the goddess of water and undeath, who has a bunch of very weird undead in this city, it's more of a Fountain of Youth situation, has a spear. But that spear is always on her. So basically, Letheris was going to have to break into the temple and get the spear from Elisie and then kill her with it. So they stage a distraction. Letheris does a quick prayer to the god that answers is Nyx, the god of transition, who gives her a very vague hint of what is to come that includes what will happen next. So she breaks into the temple and using her ingenuity, which awakens her divinity, go up to the top of the tower, see the kid's about to be sacrificed, kill the priest, magic the kid away into the arms of the one person in the city I know that's not in the temple, so I know a very confused Kendrick holding a baby that's okay, end up jumping into the well, which they were trying to add me as a sacrifice, jumped into the well, confront Elisie, it takes a bit, but Letheris is able to kill her and take the divinity, and she starts to change things in the city. Like, there will be no more sacrifices. She gets the people who are willing to stand against Elise to kind of help repopulate the temple with any of the priests, to help replace all the priests who weren't cool with the change in leadership. They don't exist anymore. All the water was removed from their bodies, so they're not a problem anymore.
That'll do it.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Also, she had the option of keeping the hundreds of thousands of spies Elsie had everywhere alive.
Okay, so how big is this island? Because we're at about, I think we're at about.
She's not on the island anymore.
Oh, we're not on the. Okay, my bad. For some reason I thought this whole thing was still on the island. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a giant island.
Yeah, no.
That's Australia.
Part two is
only part one is on the island.
Yeah, part 2 is on the nearby continent, which we've established is not the continent Zal is on. So you're welcome for more continents.
Okay, might be. Okay, so now we've got at least 2 continents and 1 island in the Game Woven world.
We did it.
Yes, and there's a holy city called Effervesce. Also, all of those spies, she ended up deciding to let them go because she has a better idea of what she wants to do with the special magic water. So
let them go like,
they're all dead. Yes, there were a lot of corpses. There were a lot of corpses to deal with the next day. Some of them got buried into a fallow plot of land to make a garden, and then the rest got tossed into the sea to be fed to the sea monsters that live down there.
We love a sea monster.
So the phrase "dehydrate the rich" has now entered my mind.
Outstanding. Smoked wealthy.
Yeah.
I've had this billionaire in my cellar with salt for decades now.
This man used to be a jerk. Now he is jerky.
Hey.
Jerk.
Yeah.
So
there were some other things, but
tell me more about the goddess of water and undead.
She dead.
She's dead.
But like, come on.
Well, that's really cool.
And also, I don't know if you've said it in this recap yet. What did Letharis? What's Letharis's like domains? Now?
Oh yeah, sorry.
So, Letharis basically becomes the goddess of the sea. I refer to it as the sea scoundrels and second chances, because what she did was an absolute twist of fate. She was chosen to be a sacrifice, and then she killed and became the god. And then refused to demand the same thing Elsie had. This weakens her, but she will not call upon that bond to demand that sacrifice, and instead offers a boon to the people of that bloodline. Because the last kid who escaped being sacrificed ended up becoming a god. It was Letharis. So I may have established that bloodline eventually enters Irene's bloodline.
Oh, okay. Fun.
So she has a boon from the goddess of the sea scoundrels and second chances. So Letharis can now sense other gods' domains and where hers ends. She can travel through water. She can make people effectively immortal. And she is very closely tied to the god of industry and commerce. And we also, in that game, created 2 different daggers. One that has a piece of the first stone in the pommel, and one that it's more of like a stiletto dagger, because it was a piece of the spear that broke off. So she fashioned that into a dagger and gave it to Wilo.
So that means we officially have 3 god-killing daggers lying around?
One
or
general
2,
purpose.
Because Wilo and Letharis was before the Undying Empire.
Right, so it could be one of those.
There's a very strong
one of those could be the Lucent Realms dagger.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Or it could be. I think we were talking about this in the chat. It could also be that like how every culture has a flood myth. For some reason, every culture just there's always a goddamn dagger.
Yeah.
Yep. Everybody's got a knife.
Yeah, because
everybody's got a knife.
Yeah. So
what do you got there, buddy?
Knife.
So they both ascended before the Undying Empire came around, but
there are like so many similarities between like Wylo's ascension story and some of the propaganda in the Undying Empire. It took me a while to figure out how, and it's because it is possible that Kafasa, after seeing his charge get killed and then his god get beaten to death, struck his own name from the records, disappeared, and went on a journey of his own, and would one day create what is known as the Undying Empire.
Oh.
And so Wylo, the worship of them comes from whenever people engage in commerce. They both make it pretty simple to follow them. But Wylo, it's the like engaging in commerce and like doing business that seeks to like make things better. So that means there are people worshiping Wylo in the Undying Empire, and Wylo cannot sense them or figure out where the hell they are. And I don't think Lotharius can see it either. But I don't think she likes the undead, so that might be like, I don't think she likes vampires specifically, so that might be why the vampires can't cross moving water. Because they're against what she and Wylo are trying to do.
Okay. So then there's the question I've been asking everybody. What did you think of the game like as a tool to tell a story for us at Game Muffin?
I had so much fun running that game, and it leaves lots of room to like build in and add in details, and there are so many different ways each game could have gone. Like there was a possibility that Lotharius wouldn't have survived.
Yeah.
And there's also the fact that even if you get like the perfect result for killing a god, you still lose something. Wylo lost their warmth. Lotharius lost her restraint.
So when I started going, oh shit, oh fuck, when you started talking about part 2, what I thought was going to happen was, oh, she went and killed her ex, and now like it started with she helped the boy become a god. 2 years later, go, oh shit, now he needs to die, and killed him. I thought that's where it was going to go.
I mean, honestly, I would kill Wylo.
So originally part 2 was going to be me playing someone else coming to kill Wylo, but then Lotharius happened, and I'm like, that drastically changed what kind of god Wylo became.
Yeah.
Because they balance each other out until they don't. But they're also incredibly popular with pirates, especially Lotharius.
Oh,
Love that.
And one of the ways that you can pray to Lotharius is wishing well.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked. I meant the game itself.
Yes.
How did like how did it?
Game good, yes?
Game good?
Yes, it's good. It leaves a lot of room. Like we could have added more gods to there, because part of character creation is you have it's just like devotion to different gods. The island only had one, but Lotharius, she had connections to a couple, one of whom was Nyx, the god of transitions, who part of her thanks to Nyx was burying some of those bodies in a place to become a garden to honor the transition. That she knows that she was supposed to be part of like a very different transition, and that didn't happen, but
yeah, okay.
It's good to keep the god of transition on your side, because if there ever becomes a day when she and Wylo are no longer gods, then if Nyx likes them, they might still be able to get a decent happy ending. I guess I have accidentally made another very interesting, weird idea, but power couple.
Hell yeah. We love power couples. And I guess last question is, what is like the one thing that you're super excited about to blend in with the rest of it,
I am excited to potentially see the movements of Wylo and Lotharius in this world, especially if we do end up going with Kafasa as the start of the Undying Empire, because there'll be some kind of clash there. And at the very least, Wylo and Lotharius are not going to be in line with what the Undying Empire is trying to accomplish. I mean, they would kind of want to do their own thing. So there will be a clash there, and I also dropped the the plot thread of that the child that like carries that bond is passed down through the generations and eventually mixes into royal bloodline on a different continent. Irene.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm excited for if Wylo and Lotheris ever meet some of these other gods, because I'm like, there's some that we will be friends with. For the gods of Fiasco, hey, do you want me to... Lotheris will go and kill the person who's made the rules the way that they are, and then you can come join our pantheon, and it's a lot better.
It is really fun for me to think about. I know we're not talking too much about like the theories and stuff, but the idea of, because like this is our like earliest kind of culture we have here that we've kind of like explicitly stated in the timeline. So I do like the idea of eventually Kevin to come back and to see what this like hyper industrial, ambitious, like pretty expansionist, not necessarily too colonial in expansion, but just like very like growth, capitalism, commerce, industry, like to see what that after mumbles XXX years later, how that society has like risen and fallen with like these two gods kind of at the helm.
Yeah.
So to say.
Especially if they ever start having kids and seeing what that looks like.
Oof.
But I did very much set up for the potential of a Magitech Empire. You're welcome.
Yeah. Always nice.
So I think it's time to move on to the final arc that we did here, which unfortunately is mine. Which not because I don't want to talk about. No, it's because I don't want to talk about me.
Another
Lex?
feeling.
Hey, Lex.
Yeah.
Tell us about Wanderhome.
Yeah.
Oh well, thanks.
Yes.
So we did have the unfortunate thing where we had some technical difficulties. So we didn't get to finish Wanderhome, but we this is posting after it, so you already know. We gave you what we had. And hopefully one day we'll get to go back to it. So that does
What boy
raise
did you give?
So that does raise the question for you guys. There were a couple prompts I wanted to introduce to the people in the game and then see what they did with it to fuck with the lore. Do you want me to mention those now, or just hold them in the back pocket for something?
Whatever came out of
what we're showing, Lex.
Okay.
Save that for later.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. Like,
I am assuming that DeGale is the one who runs the bridge.
No.
Oh, a second travel god?
No, it's DeGale.
Okay.
What happened was I got the lovely folks from the Atomless, cool podcast, check it out maybe. And I said, hey, do you guys want to be gods? And they went, okay, which is great considering this was my first interaction with most of them. So story we told, which I had some thoughts as you guys told me this. Now I'm thinking of all the implications, but I'm gonna not talk about it yet. Mainly what happened was we got introduced to a city of the gods. We never named it because we were there for about 4 seconds and left. It's somewhere. We didn't go into it much because we were leaving. It's in Wanderhome's a game about travel. And at the city of the gods, we said goodbye to some other characters that unfortunately didn't get to come back up because technical difficulties. But we were introduced to a god of the forge. Didn't get a name. There's just a god of the forge there. And we also got introduced to a god of not quite death, just endings and like what comes after those endings, I think is what we said it was. So
it's like the afterlife.
Yeah. The afterwards, be it the afterlife or something else entirely. And we also got introduced to the god of the sun, who we have met before, sort of, in other things in Game Oven. Because my focus for this was to flesh out some of the gods we've been hinting at, but never actually gave names to or actual lore to, and I wanted to meet them.
So Ventros is our trickster sun god that's worshipped in Shaumir that Ursula is trying to boost.
Correct.
God, that fucking guy. I don't know if he'd heard that episode. Note perfect for like the sense of ego that he brought to it. That performance is so good. Especially in the context of how he ends up treating Urstella and what Urstella decides to make an offering to Ventros for.
All they got for each of these gods was a 1-sentence description from me of
Incredible.
this is the vagueness of what we know about them, and it may or may not be, and this is a thing that may or may not be canon. Do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we got that version of the sun god that is now canon, and perfect.
So wonderful. So
Perfect.
delicious.
And one thing with Zadkiel is Zadkiel didn't have anyone to say goodbye to, because she's the goddess of travel, which means she doesn't get to make friends much. And I forgot to introduce the gods that are like actually we're traveling with.
The PCs.
The PCs, yeah. Can you tell that like I'm good at hyping up other people? When it's time for me, I'm so bad at it.
Same.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
You got this.
Okay, so the gods that we were traveling with, I was playing Zadkiel, who is the goddess of travel, and also I hinted at associated with wolves, because I wanted to close the circle on a thing we went back and forth on a while ago. We got Vanciage, the coolest goddess. It was the god of love, blood, passion, and war. And that goes
iron.
iron. And that goes so hard. We also had Hope, just no name, just Hope, who is a god that like their appearance changed with who they talk to. Very Neurithma. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like yourself. I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was you saw whatever brought you the most hope.
That's what it was. Yes. When you looked
Mm-hmm.
at them, you saw what gave you hope.
Until it didn't.
Until it didn't. And Hope's plot was going to be about like Hope always dies, Hope always changes or leaves or disappears. So the character Hope was about they were dying and at the end would die and become something new or just hope again. We also got the name of the moon god that Super Dylan
Aspen.
played.
Aspen.
Like the snake, I think.
Or the tree.
Or the tree. I was thinking, Asp is a
Aspen.
snake.
Yeah.
I'm smart. Aspen, god of the moon, which we introduced vaguely also in Hearts of Magic, but mostly fleshed out on the sun god. But Dylan brought to life a god we've mentioned for like 4 seconds, and I love Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
And also we got the forgotten god, which seems to be a god of time and
Omens.
prophecies and omens. And oh boy, did Norden have fun with that.
Norden predicted several things that happened in God Killer, and I was not normal about it. I apologize for if I was annoying, but I was not normal about that.
Yes,
Yep.
please, dear listener, recognize once again we did not interconsult. This was it just all landed
Not
this way.
one bit.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not at all.
Oh, also one thing about Aspen, which was really cool, is it just established that the moon used to have its own light.
Yep.
And now it doesn't.
And one day will again, according to our god of omens.
Yep.
Wow, Norden, thanks,
When
buddy.
Aspen will be.
The time of darkness approaches, or whatever it was, he said.
Yeah.
So we went on our little journey, which brought us to a small patch of woods overlooking the ocean. And we got to have a lovely little night together, chatting and getting to know each other better and learning more about these gods. One thing for Zadkiel, because this is when I really hammered home, Zadkiel has a thing with wolves. God of travel and wolves.
Is it for all the time that we spent dancing around werewolves?
It's for all the time for the brazen and the gray folk. We danced around whether or not they were werewolves or not. And I was just gonna be like, fine, wolves. Yes.
Dancing Around Werewolves is one of my favorite movies.
I'm just really shocked that something involving Dylan would also involve werewolves. No one could have predicted this.
Who could have predicted this?
No one.
I don't know if Dylan caught it, but this was on purpose. I did name Degale after the Mardigale, which is the Armenian legend of the werewolf that Dylan wrote a short story about.
Yeah.
It was a nod to that. If Dylan caught it, they didn't say anything, and I forgot to mention it to them.
Well, he's hearing it now.
Yep. But that's why I named them Degale, because I wanted to reference that and the whole wolf thing. I am super good at hosting and being like, everyone, go, go, go. Tell me about your stuff. I can't.
Well, you were saying in the green room, and this was actually pretty funny. And maybe I missed this while I had dog aggro, so I had to run really quick. You were saying in the green room that like if you don't care at all about Game Woven, then basically nothing happened in Wanderhome. But if you care about Game Woven, then a whole shitload happened in Wanderhome.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's very like obviously wish the narrative could have like wrapped up and you all could have had even more like incredible performances and character moments. But what we have for now, for this moment, is so much wonderful flavor and lived in adding quality, like Ben was talking about way all that time ago when we started talking for this episodes. And it was felt like a real labor of love and absolutely wonderful. So
it's kind of a masterpiece of tone as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
boy, I had to push it to keep up with these people. They're so good. Like, damn.
I enjoyed editing that. I was fangirling slightly. But
we noticed.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I was not normal about it, but it's like I swear Norn might actually be like psychic or something.
Right.
It's just like with because there was a moment when the Forgotten God mentioned like the ocean. She's my friend. I gave her name, and I'm like,
yeah, I forgot about that.
You know, Ferris, which is why I just have it in my head. I think Forgotten God might be Nyx.
Could be.
And that's a whole thing with like Norton said a lot of stuff that I do not remember, and all of it's relevant.
And then of course Norton has to take a victory lap on Twitter and be like, "Yo, bring me on to be your weird omen villain."
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
I did try with Rise and Fall of Gods, but schedule didn't work out.
So to make it clear of how much I didn't get to do with Wanderhome, my plan was to cover three things: a person, a place, and a thing.
Those are nouns.
Yeah,
that's okay. I mean,
I didn't get to do that.
And maybe this will transition well into like the second question that for the lineups, but like Wanderhome is kind of good at that.
Yep.
Wanderhome, like, and I'll ask you more overtly, but like Wanderhome is itself kind of a meandering vehicle for storytelling, but it's also a meandering vehicle for unstorytelling and just sort of vibe telling, you know?
Yeah.
So like, it's okay that it landed like that. So I guess my question to you is, how did you feel about Wanderhome to tell this specific, as a vehicle to tell this specific kind of story?
I am glad I had the idea. Because like what happened was, I remember everyone was talking about, oh, I know exactly what game I'm going to play for the potluck. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I was sitting there like, I don't fucking know. And I said one day in chat, I went, hey guys, what's a game about a journey? And I think it was Rob that went, Wanderhome. I'm like, sick. I don't know what that is. I looked up Wanderhome. And I went, I can make this about gods. Sure. Before I read it, by the way. I hadn't even bought it yet and went, that's the plan. And and then I read it and went, okay, no, this does work. My unearned confidence was fully correct. Thanks.
I mean, like 2022 is indie, darling. So
yeah,
like,
I didn't know that. I had no idea. I've never heard of Wanderhome before that.
Well, and it's so interesting because Wanderhome is about telling stories about small folk doing small things, you know. And what you were planning on doing was, big folk doing big things. How did they work well together? Like, was there an incongruity or?
Because the thing is, if you're being big folk doing big things, to those big folk, it feels like small things, you know?
Damn.
because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a lot of it be questioned whether or not the story was a metaphor or not, you know? Because like, you know how some people interpret the Bible, it's like, oh no, that was a metaphor. That's not literally what happened. I kind of wanted that vibe, you know?
What does the cake stand for?
Oh, yeah. Scholars have been debating that for thousands of years.
Why cake?
Why cake in this instance?
Especially when the candles can be blown out before you get there.
Exactly.
It's a deep metaphor.
But yeah, I really liked Wander Home, and I hope one day to finish the story we were trying to tell before technical difficulties. And like I said, I had a person, place, and thing that I wanted to like have them explore and expand on. The place ended up just being a chunk of woods, which, like I was saying, like big people doing big things, it looks like a small thing to them. But the fact that there's a place where 5 gods camped out for a night, that probably means something to some human somewhere. That's like a holy site where they can call upon those 5 gods' powers or something, you know? That's something.
You eat cake in this one part of the forest.
And then we started our journey across the ocean, which could mean they were on the continent that Bree established, by the way. Fun thought.
Possibly. The
And
one that we have exactly one city for, and it's called Effervesce.
Yep. And ultimately what I wanted to do was have them end where we started Game Oven, at the Blood River Bend.
Hollow Valley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Zalo.
And DeGale
we all
is...
said different proper
We
names.
gave it 5,000 different names.
Yeah.
We named stuff.
We got all our names out right at the start.
Either it has no names or
Millions.
This is true because Narithma has so many names.
Yep.
Oh boy, so many names.
Also,
So,
fun fact: the person that got killed in the dude that got killed at the start of God Killer, we didn't name them intentionally. Like at first, it wasn't a thing. It was like, no, I think it's just a thing. I don't think that name exists anymore. I think it's a thing.
But yeah, as if it wasn't clear, DeGale is the goddess of travel that we established during, Ground itself. Vasyaj is canonically the god that gave Blythe her powers over blood and controlling people. So that's fun. Which means Vasyaj came to that area with DeGale. Like all like the pantheon that I established in my game are all immigrants from somewhere. They're visiting gods that went, this place is cool, we're staying. We like these people.
Woo!
Yeah, awesome.
And I wanted to do that because the entire thing with the area is it's full of a huge part of the plot of that zone is immigration and traveling and finding home wherever you find it. Not colonization. We haven't done that because we're not gross.
Right.
That's what the Undying Empire does.
Yeah, we have the Undying Empire.
We may hit colonization at some point. It will be explicitly, I believe, framed as
bad.
I think that we are, I think there's potential for us to be discussing it, but like we are going to be handling it in a way that is in line with our principles.
Correct. So. And we wear principles on our sleeve. That wasn't clear. Whenever there's a question of it, I look at the camera and say, hey, this is what we believe. ACAB.
Yeah.
Genocide's bad.
And what's really interesting about the gods being the immigrants, normally you hear stories, like this is why it's so unique. Normally the story is the people immigrate and they bring their gods with them. But because we're dealing, this is what I love about fantasy worlds, because you have extant gods that are real and provable and exist. Meaning they're going to do stuff like move.
Or kill each other.
Like commute to work, like that's, and so, it's very interesting. Like they sort of all become like this pantheon from the outside. And so invoking one of them sort of vaguely invokes all of them because they all came together. Yeah.
And that's the thing I really wanted to because everyone else was meant to be expanding on things that were new. And I broke the rules and I want to focus on a thing we already have because I like it a lot. And so I wanted to I wanted to take a magnifying glass to a thing that already was real and just get really in there.
Unfortunately, when you take a magnifying glass to things that are real, you end up with 5 people having a very long conversation in a cosp of woods.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is not
it's
bad.
True.
We've had other
really
sessions that were just sort of like Vibe City. I think of Queen of Light.
Yeah.
Queen of Light is, and I struggled with this initially because I'm like, oh man, not a whole lot happened. But really what happened was just a dickload of vibes.
It was so vibey. I have a list of paintings I want to do of that.
Oh yeah, and that's the kind of like sometimes the story you tell is not realist. It's not or isn't realism. It's impressionist.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about when moments like that happen in something like Game Over specifically is when we're quote unquote vibing, it means we're expanding on one or more of the characters in a world that we're going to keep expanding on, which means that character is part of that world. So even if in the moment we're not doing much of anything, that means we have context for something in the future, or if we feel like exploring it, context for something in the past, and that's awesome.
What it comes down to for me is, in my opinion, let your actual plays have filler episodes.
Hell yeah.
Don't just go into actions. Let it have discussion. Let it have talking. Yeah.
It's can confirm it leads to some very, very fun shows. We do a lot of that over in Queen City Supers, and I love it.
And I know that we've talked about wanting to revisit Wanderhome as a system. Not necessarily. I mean, I'd love to see you team up with the Adamless crew again and work with them some more because they're just really great folks and amazing role players. But
I think we should all have a turn to team up with the Adamless crew.
Everybody gets to play with the Adamless folks.
Get your own friends, guys.
Hey,
I did.
You're my friends. What am I supposed to do now?
I want to kidnap them all so bad.
But I know we've talked a lot about wanting to do a travel story in our setting to kind of get a nice, a nice sightseeing tour, and Wanderhome would be a great vehicle for that sometime.
Yeah,
so, one day. We'll get there.
2026, 27 after the Undying Empire has fallen.
Yeah, Jesus.
Those are real years.
Lex, what is one thing about your story that you are most excited about interacting with the world?
One thing that I started doing but didn't get to actually finish doing or draw a light to was as the Gale, I was trying to do things that would maybe be like the reason people pray to, like the way people pray to her, and like the reason behind some of the traditions. So at the start of the journey, I had her just bury a coin at the start of the journey, and I didn't get to finish what that means or anything. I was like, that's something. That's gonna be someone's thing they do somewhere. I don't know. And just the idea of, I don't know, it's the same kind of vibe that you got from Fallible God, of like making the god and then as a result making the religion. It feels like in a world where there's explicitly gods that are real, some of the religion, it just happens because that god just is quirky and weird.
Yeah.
There's not any deep meaning behind the thing they do. They just think it's fun. I don't know.
Well, and just like you had made a comment about a quick shorthand way to make a character like have an extra dimension is to give them a narrhythmatic brand. A narrhythma brand.
I like narrhythmatic. That's what I wrote down in my notes.
You could also have a person's story hook be they found a coin that had unearthed itself. Like in the rain, like all of a sudden there's this coin on the ground, and like they don't know anything about it, but they know it's important.
Yep.
And I know it wasn't the intention, but there is something that feels fitting, especially with the like very, how do I say this? Like a lot of the gods that we ended up making, not in Wanderhome, we got like a little glimpse on their personhood a lot, and we got some very like emotional scenes and personal scenes from your characters in Wanderhome, but they felt a little less like scrutable in some ways, right? Like they were a little more like like, the forgotten god and the god of a moonlight which doesn't shine anymore.
Yeah.
And it feels almost a little fitting to have so many like open questions and threads about these 5 gods. Obviously, want to close them, want to like tie them off in a bow, but
so
like
bad.
it feels fitting in the way that like people in the game over world would have so many questions about these 5, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
why did they leave? Where did they leave from? Why are they here? Why were they journeying together?
Mhm.
Right? Like the idea of these 5 not having like a central like pillar that really ties them together, and this all being really kind of unexplained for the people of the world feels fitting.
Yeah, and I really liked that. I really like that. Like the first god we made was a goddess of travel, and I've tried to keep that like as a core thing for what we're doing, at least for like this arc of what we're doing with the. I was about to say the Unwoven Empire.
No, that's our rival podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unwoven.
They only
I
they unmake settings one game at a time.
It's all
will
about just
point
killing
out,
off setting elements.
Yeah.
Elsie was known as the goddess of woven life, so
Wow.
I don't think Lotharius
Hell yeah.
keeps that name, but that was
Hell yeah.
sorry. Back on track for what you were saying, Lex.
I don't know what I was saying anymore. Speaking of which, it's getting where we are. It's getting a little late, gang. I think we're gonna have to come back for a part 2 for this, which is our first
Part 2?
2-parter cross stitch. It'll be exciting. It'll be fun. It'll be great and interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the
Anyone
gods
have
connect,
any?
and I have theories to share.
Anyone have any last minute things to say before we beat it? Before we cheese it? Even?
Just want to say that I really appreciate all of you. And every time we do this, I'm like, how is this going to come together? And then we start saying stuff into microphones, and it feels really profound and fun and moving. And I don't want to ever stop. So
I just want to
love you
say
all.
that your hair and your cloak make you look like a Legolas.
Anna called me a Legolas today. I had it up when I had it up in the pony as well.
Oh.
I want to extend a special thanks to the mountain of guests we
Yes.
had this
Yes.
part.
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
shit! Because every one of us broke off and did our own table, meaning we had a buttload of guests. Just outstanding. Could not have done it without you. It makes the world more lived in, more full, more vibrant, and more interesting. Each and every one of you.
Do it this way.
That's why we do it this way. That's why we
do
came
it this
up.
way.
That's the format. That's the formula. It works very well.
Yeah, look. Also, side question: how was it for the first time having a guest that I didn't introduce you to?
What?
I had the realization that all but one guest we've had until this point, I introduced to the cast.
I mean, like Quest game. This
Game
would be
one.
any.
I built that table.
I forgot about Quest. I'm stupid. Look, I forget about Quest all the time because I wasn't there.
Also, we just had LGA again, so
Yeah.
I mean, I kidnapped a stranger off the internet and we're friends
Hell
now.
yeah.
So that
Okay,
was
yeah.
fun.
Real quick, you two hadn't played games before ever?
No,
The vibes were
we did
good.
have
Yeah.
a session
That's
zero
why.
to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's not
That's just wild.
my brain doesn't want to process that, so
Don't trust
I'm
you.
going
Yeah,
to not.
I literally just kidnapped Chase off of the Ballad of the
No,
Seven
you
Dice
two have
server.
known
We
each other
had
for
a
years.
session zero.
Yeah.
They play every week one-on-one.
Like,
That's
yeah.
the only
friends,
explanation.
right?
Yeah, you two grew up together.
Also, sorry about that
Clearly.
random bit of vanity. It just came up when, like I said, my cousin's been binging the show, and it came up. She's like, "Oh, where do you guys get all your guests?" I'm like, "Well,
Me.
Dylan's my friend, so I introduced them. Glass is all of our friends, so yeah. Oh yeah, and then I was just going through the guests. I'm like, oh yeah, I introduced most of them, huh? Maybe, I don't know, but I have a bad memory, so I might have just like conflated that and just like
I'm pretty sure it's just Quest Dare and then this arc.
Yeah.
Hey, remember, Lex, you're adding value to this whole thing all the time.
Look, I know.
Yes, you are.
I just have to remind myself because I literally will forget. Holy shit, Zad, that scared the fuck out of me. I have to remind myself I add value because I will literally forget it.
If you don't think you do, I don't
That's
stand
what
a
we're here
chance.
for.
Look, it's not that I don't believe in myself. It's that I forget the things I've done. So
And you know
say,
what? The folks at home shouldn't forget to like and subscribe.
Game Woven, check out the
YouTube channel.
Patreon. Give us money.
Yeah,
Check out the
Okay.
link in the
Patreon.
description.
If you don't want to listen to the podcast on a podcast place, check out the YouTube channel. They're all there.
We have one.
We do.
But
It gets updated every Friday because I have too many YouTube things to keep track of, so it just happens Friday mornings.
And if you
And-
just want to read about it instead, check out our World Anvil.
yeah,
Because Emily says transcripts rights.
transcripts.
Oh.
Hell yeah. Where we
I've
putting the
never said
transcript?
that.
Tell me
On the
later
World
where we're
Anvil.
posting the transcripts. So, on the World Anvil?
On the
Okay.
On the
Right.
World Anvil. Yeah.
Right now they're on the World Anvil. They might be in other places eventually, but for
World
now
Anvil.
they're going up on the World Anvil.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. So, actual outro ending time.
That wasn't it.
Sure. I'll edit it so it will be.
Good night,
thank you.
everyone, and remember to stay weavy.
Yeah, that one. Thanks for listening, guys.